I haven't deadlifted in over a year. I've replaced them with 45-degree back extensions instead, and I couldn't be happier because I realized I'm not a powerlifter who has to deadlift for competitions. I don't actually care about maxing out, hitting 1RMs, or lifting crazy weights. We've been sold this idea that if you're not deadlifting, you're not hardcore. Because tell someone that your leg day has back extensions instead of deadlifts, and they'll think that you're taking the easy way out. If choosing a different hip hinge like a 45-degree back extension has you not skipping leg day, that's the real hardcore. Here's everything that I learned after progressing to 160 kilo RDLs and then quitting. I was pushing this exercise so hard that it was impacting the quality of my workouts and my life. Every heavy leg day left me completely wiped out. I'd drive home feeling like a zombie. All that brain fog, it lasted for the whole day. My creativity dropped, my work suffered, and I had less energy for everything in and outside the gym. Deadlifts, they're one of the most fatiguing exercises that you can do because there's all the heavy grip demands. Even with straps, there's a lot going on. There's massive spinal loading when you're holding hundreds of kilos, which is taxing just by itself. And almost every muscle in your body is working, which is a double-edged sword for benefits. All these factors combined for deadlifts creates this huge recovery cost. Big stimulus, but big fatigue. Then there's the mental side. As the weights get heavier, every set demands more focus, more effort, more psyching yourself up, and more caffeine to survive. I don't know about you, but after giving everything to deadlifts, I find it really hard to attack the rest of my workout with the same intensity. And the fatigue, it doesn't stop there. It often carries into the next few days of training. Eventually, I realized I'd rather choose an exercise that challenged my muscles, not one that drained the rest of my day. Welcome the 45-degree back extension. Why are they worth doing? I'm looking for a hip hinge that targets my posterior chain, the glutes, hamstrings, and spinal erectors. The movement pattern is very similar to a deadlift, allowing you to stimulate with far less load. I only train legs once a week and I'm a minimalist in this respect, so everything that I do has to earn its place. I like to choose movements that build muscle and strength efficiently, ideally ones that don't compromise the rest of my training. The 45-degree back extension seems to have a much better stimulus to fatigue ratio. This means greater local muscle stress without all of that systemic full body fatigue that you get from heavy deadlifting. A major benefit that I noticed after swapping hip hinges was that they stopped interfering with my upper body training. Back extensions, they still hammer my lower body, but they don't create that same upper back and trap fatigue that heavy deadlifts do. Before, I'd often head into my next pull or push workout with sore fatigue traps, even 2 days after all that barbell work. Now that I've put deadlifts on the bench and subbed in the back extension, my hamstrings didn't shrink, my glutes didn't disappear, and my lower back, it's still plenty strong. A word of warning though, a mistake that people make is replacing heavy deadlifts for bodyweight back extensions or using a weight that's nowhere near challenging enough. You can't go from deadlifting massive weights relative to your level and then just doing some light back extensions expecting to get big and strong. Please don't underestimate how heavy that you can lift on this exercise. You still gotta bring it and be genuinely challenged for it to work. If you stick to the movement and progress consistently, there's no reason why you can't be adding 60 plus kilos. The advice that I give myself, if you're going to replace deadlifts, you have to replace the effort as well. Another thing that I like about the 45-degree variation is that there's no hiding with your technique. Because your hips are supported by the bench, there's fewer moving parts to think about. I can simply focus on maintaining a solid hip hinge and just going for it. I found that as my RDLs got heavier, my technique would gradually change. I'd start bending my knees, turning it into a squat, and losing that fixed hip hinge. These compensations, they help you lift more weight, but they aren't as effective for using deadlifts for isolated bodybuilding. All of these little compensations, they rob my hamstrings of the tension that I was actually trying to give them. But with a 45-degree back extension, there is less technical complexity. So I can stay honest. Instead of finding ways to move more weight just to move more weight, I can focus on keeping consistent technique and loading the muscles that I'm actually trying to train. When it comes to adding intensity, I like either stacking plates or holding a pair of dumbbells as I hinge like my life depends on it. The key is train them hard. Keep pushing until those final reps slow right down and you can't quite extend yourself back up. Stick mostly to moderate rep ranges around 6 to 15 with only a rep or two in reserve. Progress the weight heavier over time, and as long as you're genuinely working near failure, back extensions, they work if you do. Another reason I love these is the full range of motion. Not only do you get a fantastic stretch through the hamstrings, glutes, spinal erectors, it also helps you maintain the mobility to touch your toes. In my mind, I'm thinking about keeping tall through the spine. Then at the bottom, you should feel a nice stretch through the whole backside of the body. And at the top, you don't have to hyperextend that lower back. Once your body reaches a straight line, squeeze your glutes, pinch those cheeks like there's a coin between them, and then lower down under control. One thing to be aware of is that these can leave you pretty dizzy, especially when you're training them to the max. Between the head position changes and all that heavy breathing, I've learned to take my time getting off the bench. Let's just say I've had a few episodes where I stood up too quickly and came very close to blacking out. You're probably thinking, why not just train the deadlift smarter, Daniel? Sure, I could have done 2 sets instead of 3, left more reps in reserve, or simply lifted lighter. All of these sensible strategies would have spared my recovery and left me less exhausted. That's how you would coach someone. When it comes to my own training, restraint isn't exactly my strong point. Once I start deadlifting a big compound lift, it's hard for me not to push. I just want to stack on the plates and just go for it, like I'm a young Eric Bugenhagen over here. I'll also admit maintaining a low body fat percentage and trying to progress deadlifts isn't helpful either. Being a bit more bulked up surely would help reduce those negative symptoms. Granted, that's probably more of a me problem than a deadlift problem. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should stop deadlifting. I'm going to do them again in the future for sure. What I'm getting at today is that you don't have to be loyal to one exercise forever. There'll be seasons where deadlifts are exactly what you need, and then there's going to be seasons where you want to do something else instead. The best exercise isn't one someone says that you have to do. The best exercise is the one that suits your current goals and is just fun for you right now. Mixing calisthenics and weights into a routine, hybrid calisthenics, is the way that I've been training for years. It's helped me build strength, build muscle, and really, it's such an addictive, fun way to train. Get my hybrid program linked below on fitnessfaqs.com, and you're going to fall in love with this style of training.